welcome back to Kavanaugh's Corner. Now, today on the channel, because of some current home theater issues that I'm experiencing, I'm doing something a little different. Last week, I did a very personal video talking about some things that are going on in my life right now. If you haven't seen it, definitely go watch that video. Normally here on the channel, I review physical media releases, 4Ks, standard Blu-rays, whatever really kind of tickles my fancy. If it's something I really want to talk about, I'll review it here on the channel. A while back, I did a video with my friend Esley, who does videos over at Entertainment Fanatic Reviews, and we talked about movies that we'd really like to see come to 4K. And funny enough, right after that video came out, a lot of the movies that we mentioned actually ended up coming out on 4K. We did that video a while back, but I mentioned like Twister, the original Terminator. Those are both now officially being released on 4K. Well, Twister's already come out, but the Terminator is coming out very soon. I'm thinking probably within the next couple months. So, I'm hoping that my luck carries on through this video because I want to talk about a few more movies that really need a 4K release, or in some cases, I'll take just a Blu-ray of some of these films. And I decided to do it by genre. So I picked 6 genres, and I wanted to talk about movies that I think just need some kind of proper physical media treatment because either A, they've, haven't had any kind of high definition release, or B, the high definition releases are getting a little old, a little long in the tooth, I should say, or even just a remaster, just something to kind of bring these movies into the 21st century. And the first genre that I always kind of go to when it comes to 4K, just because the genre is so perfect for the 4K format, and that is, of course, action movies. There really isn't anything better than a great action movie in 4K with Dolby Atmos and, immersive sound and HDR, making all those explosions and action sequences really pop out. And one movie, I should say a series of movies that really need to come out on 4K are the Lethal Weapon movies. How these have not been released on 4K yet is really a mystery to me. Now, I read recently that Warner Brothers sent out a survey to people actually asking if, Lethal Weapon, the first one, would actually be wanted on 4K. Of course, I don't know if that actually is true, or if that, is true, then did Lethal Weapon rank high on that list? In my opinion, it's kind of a no-brainer to put all 4 of the films on 4K. Chances are, if they are going to do this, they'll probably wait for Lethal Weapon 5 to be released, which is supposedly coming next year. I'm not 100% sure on that, but there have been rumors that it is being made, or at least is in pre-production right now, and Mel Gibson is to direct, since Richard Donner sadly is no longer with us, and he actually asked Mel to do the 5th one because he had signed on to do it, I guess, and then he passed away. So these are 4 films that are just so much fun to watch. I love every one of them. The first 2 are definitely the better 2 of the 4 films, but even Lethal Weapon 3, I go back and revisit from time to time just because it's such a fun action movie. And yeah, the script for 3 and 4 are not really as good as the first 2, but there's still a lot of fun to watch, and the action sequences in all of them are fantastic. The acting is spectacular. And yeah, Mel Gibson, obviously an extremely controversial figure, but I still enjoy those movies. I do. I just do. There's just something about them that I just absolutely love, and they crack me up. I mean, Mel Gibson and Danny Glover are just so phenomenal in those films. Joe Pesci as well. And, I got a chance to meet Danny Glover years ago, and he talked about how, how much fun they had making those movies. And I actually asked him if he would do a fifth one, and he said, "Well, I'm not too old for that." And I thought that was such a great answer. It was such a wonderful thing meeting him. He was such a kind, wonderful guy. But yeah, Lethal Weapon, just put all of them out in 4K. I don't know what the deal is. I'd also like to see the director's cut of the first three films in 4K. Even though the director's cut for Lethal Weapon 3 really isn't anything special. They put back like literally like I think it's like 1 minute of footage into the film, but the director's cut of Lethal Weapon 1, the first one, is fantastic. And the sequence where Mel Gibson walks into the line of fire with the guy with the sniper rifle is shooting at the kids in the schoolyard. What a crazy scene that is. It's such a fantastic introduction to his character that it's just MIA from every other release. And the Blu-rays don't have the director's cuts. They do have the deleted scenes as special features, but I really wish they would put those director's cuts at least in Blu-ray. So I don't know, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. I hope that Warner Brothers puts that out at some point soon. Now, the second one on my list here is horror films. I love a good horror film in 4K. We were lucky enough to get The Exorcist and Exorcist 3 on 4K, two of my favorite horror films of all time. And those were pretty great transfers. I know The Exorcist was kind of divisive among people, but I really liked the transfer of that one. And Exorcist 3 by Scream Factory was a phenomenal transfer. So, another film that's a lot more recent that I'd love to see come to 4K is 28 Days Later. So I know at some point next year, the year after, we're going to be getting 28 Years Later, which is the follow up to 28 Weeks Later. So I'm thinking probably Disney, and yes, it actually is a Disney film now, which is crazy, but it was 20th Century Fox and Searchlight Pictures, and now it's owned by Disney. So 28 Days Later is kind of languishing. It was on Blu-ray years ago. I think it came out probably over 10, 15 years ago on Blu-ray. And that Blu-ray now is extraordinarily expensive and very, very hard to find. It's on the secondhand market. If you can find it, grab it. But I'd love to see this come to 4K. I know the source of the film is probably not going to look that great in 4K, just mainly because of the way the movie was shot. It has such a handheld, very, very grainy, gritty look to it. And I, pray that they do not use any kind of heavy digital noise reduction on the remaster of that if they do indeed do one. But I would still love to see it. I would just love to have that in 4K. This is a movie that you cannot get anywhere. And that's the reason why I'd love to see this come to 4K. You cannot buy the movie on iTunes. It's not on any streaming service. It's gone. Like, this movie is just gone. So unless you find some other way to watch it or procure it, you're not going to watch this movie, which is a shame because Danny Boyle did a phenomenal job with that movie, and it's nowhere to be found. I've seen physical copies on sale in different places. I've seen the movie fetch over $300 on eBay. It's nuts. But it's a great film. I just could never imagine spending that much money on a standard Blu-ray. It's just insanity. But I have seen bootlegs of it elsewhere, homebrews, whatever you want to call it. I've seen it on various sites. So if you really want to go that route, you can. But it's just one of those movies that's just phenomenal. It's such a scary, heart-pounding movie. But you can't watch it, and I think that's a real shame. So I hope that Disney ends up putting that out soon. That would be a real good one. I love a good suspense film, a drama suspense. Panic Room is one that I think would really, really do good in 4K. I have this version. Now, this is from sloppysecondsales.com, and I've done videos in the past about some movies that they've either sent to me or I've picked up on my own. And this is one that I absolutely had to have from them. They did a very limited release of this a while back, and it's pretty much just a disc version of the movie that I think is on iTunes, and I think it was also on Netflix at one point. And this is a fantastic disc. The movie looks really good in 1080p, and it's got a 5.1 Dolby surround on this. It's a really solid movie, and I think the film would be so great looking in 4K. Again, David Fincher does not miss most of the time. I mean, every movie I've seen of his, I've liked in one way or the other. Even his more recent movies, they're not perfect, but I still enjoyed aspects of them. And Panic Room is just such a heart pounding, suspenseful movie, and the visuals of it are outstanding. So that would be one I would love to see in 4K. And right now, again, it's not on any streaming services, but you can buy it in high def on iTunes. So if you really want to watch it, you can hunt down one of these babies, or you can purchase it on iTunes. But man, I'd love to see that movie with like Dolby Vision and everything. That would be exquisite. Now, the next genre I really had a hard time thinking of a movie for is the comedy genre. Comedies to me are very hit or miss in 4K. We got like National Lampoon's Vacation and Christmas Vacation on 4K over the last couple of years, and those were fairly solid transfers. I really enjoyed them, but there hasn't been many others that I can think of that I really appreciated on 4K. I guess The Fisher King is kind of a comedy with Robin Williams and Jeff Bridges, and that was a really good 4K. But straight out and out comedies are just, I don't know, the 4K format doesn't always do much for movies like that. But one movie in particular I thought of that I would love to see in the format is What About Bob? And this is a movie that, again, has never gotten a Blu-ray release, or at least not in the United States. And this movie is gorgeous to look at. The setting of the film, the way it was shot. Frank Oz did a great job directing the film, and there are some really beautiful nighttime scenes. There's a really funny scene where Bill Murray's out on the water, and just the look of the film in general, I think, is a very bright, colorful film for the most part, and I just think it would look great in 4K, or even on, I just take it on Blu-ray. So What About Bob is a Touchstone film, and that's owned by Disney. And Disney's starting to put out more and more movies from that studio on 4K. I'm hoping they'll put out some Hollywood Pictures films in the future. Like The Rock, or Armageddon, or some of these other really huge hits from the 90s that are, again, don't have a 4K, but I'm getting sidetracked here. But What About Bob? Again, a hilarious movie, and some of the behind the scenes stories of how Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss clashed almost constantly. It really adds to the whole atmosphere of the film, and it's such a funny movie, and every time I watch it I crack up. And this is another one that you can get it on digital. You might be able to find the DVD, but they're just this movie really needs to come out at least on Blu-ray. And I just, I think this is a movie that has been really underlooked in terms of physical media. So I'd love to see it get a release, and I hope at some point they end up doing that. It's just a shame, and the movie was a fairly big hit too when it came out. I think dramas are another genre that really benefit on 4K, just to provide the higher resolution. It really makes you appreciate the film, and especially the performances from actors when you can really see a lot of details. And one film that I've always loved, and this is another movie that has really not had any sort of respect given to it in a lot of different ways. And I think it's actually the greatest film ever made about addiction and recovery, and that movie is called Clean and Sober, and it stars Michael Keaton. Morgan Freeman is in the film, and the movie really packs an emotional wallop. It has a great look to it. It's a very natural looking film. A lot of scenes shot in smoky interiors. It's a very true to life movie, and Michael Keaton, I will go to my grave on this. He really should have gotten an Oscar nod for this film. He was absolutely stupendous in this film. And honestly, I think it's his best performance ever. He's definitely one of my favorite actors still working today. He can do anything. I mean, he can play literally anything. And he just has such an incredible presence. I love the guy so much. He's amazing. But Clean and Sober is one of these really hard movies to watch. And if anybody has ever known someone with a substance abuse problem or a drug problem, this movie gets it. It is so dead on. And again, the portrayal of Keaton's character in this film is stunning. I love the film, and this movie again has only had a DVD release, and as far as I can remember, I don't think the DVD was even in widescreen. I think it was full frame pan and scan. I could be wrong on that. But you can buy it in HD on iTunes. So I'm hoping that this movie at least gets a Blu-ray release, but since it's basically skipped that entire format's life, even though Blu-ray is still extremely popular, I'd love to see this movie finally get the recognition it deserves. I'm actually hoping that Criterion Collection picks this one up. Warner Brothers has been doing a lot of great work with Criterion recently. After Hours was one big one that they came out very recently. So I'm hoping that more of these films that have kind of been pushed aside by Warner Brothers gets picked up by Criterion. That would be a dream come true. And I'd also love to see more stuff about the making of that film. And, Glenn Gordon Caron, who is the director, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. He's also the guy that created Moonlighting and a lot of other great TV shows. The guy actually did a really good job directing the film. So I'm hoping that more attention is paid to that film, especially now that Michael Keaton has kind of had a career renaissance over the last couple years. Thank God. He's so good. But anyway, it's his best film. I think it's the one of the best dramas ever. So definitely check out the film if you haven't seen it. I just hope it gets the release that it deserves. So the last genre I'm going to cover today is documentaries. The documentary films are some of my favorite to watch, even mockumentaries. I love watching. And there have been quite a few documentaries that have come out in my lifetime that are just stupendously well done. But there's one documentary that came out when I was 13. I think I was 13 when it came out. And this movie has stayed with me since I first watched it air on CBS. And this is a movie that has been given literally no respect on physical media. It was released one time on DVD, very briefly. And the DVD, I think, was actually a pretty big seller when it came out. And in all honesty, I really think that this documentary is the most important documentary of my lifetime. And it's a documentary called 9/11. And 9/11 is a documentary by, I think they're pronounced the Naudet brothers or the Naudet brothers. Again, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing their name. But if you have not seen this film, I beg you to seek it out. It is shocking, it is emotional, and it is so important to not only the history of the United States of America, but I think it's important to humanity. And I know that's a very, very intense statement that I just made. Um, but this movie captures the human essence in a way that very rarely do films or documentaries ever do. The film follows two French documentarians who are basically embedded in a firehouse in New York City. And the whole thing about the movie is that they originally were there to document the journey of a new firefighter, or they call them probies. And they were really going to try to capture this young man turning into a real man, as they say, and watching him grow up on camera and become a full-fledged firefighter. What they didn't know was that the September 11th attacks were going to happen as they were making this documentary. Because I know I have some younger viewers that were maybe not alive on 9/11. Life was completely changed on that day, and I'm filming this on 9/12. So this is something that I really have been thinking about, and I've been writing this list for like more than a week now, really trying to get 6 films that I think really deserve a 4K treatment. But this movie was never a doubt in my mind. It's unreal to watch, and I watched it very recently, and you can find this documentary online. It's actually available on right here on YouTube if you look it up. But if you wanted to purchase it, it's only available in standard definition on Amazon Prime Video. So if you go to Prime Video, you can buy it there. But the DVD has been out of print for many, many years. You can find it on eBay. Listings go from like 15 to like 20, 30, $50. And this is a film that, like I said, it needs to be seen. And it puts you right there in the filmmaker's shoes, and you really get to experience what happened that day almost minute for minute. And the footage that these two brothers captured during that time period is just something that is it's stunning, and it's shocking. And there's actually some of the footage that they captured is actually some of the only footage in certain places of the World Trade Center that day. They're actually in the lobby, I think, of Tower 1, and it's the only footage in the world of anybody in Tower 1 during that time period before the towers fell. So it's important. Like I said, I think it's historically important, and it's nowhere to be found. CBS has re-aired it like once, and I think it was on the 20th anniversary of the attacks, and it was re-edited very heavily. and they inserted a lot of stuff with, like, Robert De Niro was hosting, and they put him in there, and it was fine. But the original film, as it originally aired, the version on the DVD, I think, is actually slightly longer. I think it's about 20-30 minutes longer, and that's the one that I watched recently. But, still, the fact that this movie has never been given a high definition treatment. And I know the movie was shot on consumer grade high 8 video, which is just mind blowing to me. There are just some moments in this documentary that I will never ever get out of my mind, and that's the way it should be for something like that. You'll never forget that day. I know I never will. And it's a movie that shows how people can come together in a time of absolute uncertainty and tragedy. And it's a phenomenal film. I mean, there's really not much more I can say about it. By the end of it, if you are not emotionally destroyed, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's one of these movies that demands to be seen. And honestly, I think it probably should be shown in schools. And I do not say that very often. But this movie it's important. It's very important. And I hope Paramount, that they own the rights to this documentary. I hope Paramount will at least go back and try to do something with this film, even if it's just a very, low intensity HD upscale of. I mean, if they can do an HD upscale on YouTube by, a normal person doing that, then uh Paramount can do, probably one step better. So that's really all that I have for today. Those were 6 films that I really think deserve a 4K or at least a Blu-ray treatment. I hope that you liked my list there. If you have any films that you want to come out on 4K or Blu-ray or something that you think have been kind of forgotten, please leave a comment below. I want to see these because these are just a few. I mean, I got plenty more on the back burner that I want to talk about, but these were the ones that were really in my head this week when I was filming this video. So if you like this video, definitely make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel as well. It is a big help to me here. Share the video too with your friends if you kind of like this sort of thing. I know it's a very niche audience I have here, but I love all of you. I wish you all the very best. Please stay safe and take it easy.